Okay, so that many potential right now was that Johnson and total my type of figure that the primary target of that terminate my top priority of the terminate is non temp but with that 11 that's only due to the absence of 11 that the minimum something right now with turning around to get on the main term to at Johnson at the might have already figured it out might be that's the case and my that might be the case that minimum period is good. That be so right now I'm looking for Johnson and through them by the time they will be able to catch up to the minimum club that turned around and discipline the minimum club would have made it back to something more is now that I'm super and definitely it might not be been really seeing 11 that might have resulted in the minimum club so it's the control of she is able to make that and realize that 11 is not the team of John and so in the car might be the case definitely not the repetition. So that name was scenario to be that definitely that might and Maxim was carrying 11 project for things of them while trying to get away from that to that by sure pointing ending up at that location close to that inverter to secret eruption and will about within the wall and how things would be exactly by the time the giant monster moving would be returning and making it back to the more of scenario that so the moment that Mike and Mac could would be seeing along that believe the giant amount of movement characters or something at that point in time to kind of need for Mike to totally tell Mac into totally straight away head for the elevator and that they have observed by now that roughly doesn't might out details to might about exactly the location of the elevator leading to secret underground tsunami laboratories that means so that way consumer control the time for that one for something might plan and different mapping like 11 quickly entering into that elevator just they are looking fine by the time not just minimum which is making it there and maybe about to land it's attack on my 11 and I think that then they are making it into into the elevator and the elevator started to the already in that way, Mike and 11 and Mike seeing the steering from minimum club of that the scenario that so it's a minimum club straight away, giving the order to we need to go up from that. And definitely, I'm still remember the mention that I'm still seriously considering the possibility of definitely in actually the minimum club might even to the person might not want to take out 11, but in actuality might want to definitely capture 11 and take control of 11. Exactly to do it's in 11 have 11 telling since through by controlling 11 when in Minecraft might get only see the possibilities of basically through controlling 11 to that way to use access and use for in Minecraft to be able to access and use 11 telling and and actually Minecraft will to give create as many gates to multiple gates to the parallel at the point, and that way the role of that would be definitely might definitely be at the top wrapping role in activity for the open mind player as well as the mind player, which would be definitely to eventually have the gate from create a gate from the parallel in the real world and be able to expand the size of that gate to be able to have that gate zero up to the point of making it possible for the grand project Minecraft from the parallel to be able to integrate into and emulate that for real world. Might be that the Minecraft of the president Minecraft current so ultimate goal, but actually might be the case that you will on this. So let me have to bring the Minecraft in actuality might be totally flapping about and preparing as a response to take out 11 solely to they are entering down 11 from the moral might be that's a very situation also a possibility that happens. So the PM looks for the minimum plan that's at that point so to we need to go after and that way I'm thinking that by the by the time the inverter will be halfway leading to the underground Russian theater Russian laboratory and spring like Mike and others like totally shocking sharing like a start on the a start from on like the process like delivered and that will be definitely really pulled out of the jump into like delivered and might have landed on top of it delivered like the scenario that of the boot again. So like from there like I'm really like totally attacking like the ceiling of like delivered and destroying it and trying to like open it up as like the scenario that I'm so after that so that as the term of the finance scenario to be like as like the elevator will be reaching finally reaching like the future level of like the future version and of the laboratory and like once like the elevator doors would be opening up like at that point itself exactly like I'm so different yet would have opened up like destroyed like the ceiling of the elevator and might have infiltrated into like the elevator and as like we would be about to like attack like my and 11 like at that very last second I'm totally forgetting like the door of like failure which exactly open by zero point like minimum membership so exactly simultaneously at the same time it's like looking at that and define straight away like that's going to find that I'm a bunch of like multiple options that's like basically standing outside like as well and would be straight away like launching their attack to towards towards like 21 different like elevators like scenario that and so like so like definitely in those different still the group of like Mike Maxine and 11 like managing to like jump to like the side and sides from like the gum attack of like multiple incoming attacks of like the Russian guard while those different all those attacks would be exactly landing on to like scenario that are looking so like still those really would be so seeing very tough like the powers of setting event where that and like an integration between like straight away charging towards the like both direction multiple Russian guards and like would be busy attack uh, at that point and definitely I'm exploring that Mike and Maxine and 11 like taking advantage of that opening to like so they escape from that universe to like centering deep into that secret version of the laboratory and trying to like hide something with within that secret version of the laboratory. It's like the scenario that I'm so different. So and also since that 11 has probably have considering that removing like the more suffering from within like the bite mark both of that on like 11 like net like and so eventually a person won't be able to like trace and track down 11 by it tracking or like the monster element due to its like actions might be like the situation for like the use of human so like that way while the monster like at that point from like deliver like might loop of like might be and 11 will run within like the into like the situation of the laboratory and hiding from the within like the situation of the laboratory at that point like believe about the current would be frantically searching throughout like the Russian laboratory and basically taking out like any Russian that that will be running into the that was like a scenario current and so the current like scenario to eventually end up with like will eventually ending up finding still managing to like find like to 11 might as well as like magic would be hiding even at that point but still would be getting found by the it's like the with the scenario that are for the so and like at that point as like you will be about to like attack uh like when the seems they are like my 11 as well as my team because like at that point I'm like 11 would be once again attempting to like bring out telekinesis powers and to use it to like save my and my team but like even at that point I'm told the current 11 certainly not still not getting the access to top 10 telekinesis powers like the scenario there so and we have to remember permissions for like this like sudden loss of like access of like 11 to have telekinesis powers at person might be roughly and that was happening as soon as after like 11 had basically removed like the most of element from like the byte map one like might be mainly either due to like due to that like process like while 11 did that like 11 using up way too much of like the already trusted 11 like using up like the remaining extent of like 11's like kind of reason stamina to like remove that most element from like the one using up anything with power that basically 11 like stamina and energy most likely are required to like for like 11 to give like perform for anything with power like for that kind of game stamina or like 11 currently thoroughly drains and hence that 11 might need like it goes to be for like 11 to like to replenish energy and stamina for and that to be like the so way 11 at first and like the situation that 11 might be able to even use subtleties spouse again might be like the active situation of like 11 and this might be the reason for like 11 not being able to like his taking laws of especially mitochondria and that way ultimately at that point that 11 not even 11 being able to like do anything against that really like you will be about to like attack 11 and like Mike totally protecting Mike and Martin would something maybe at that point like standing in front of that 11 to protect 11 with all that courage at that point in a daring manner it's like listen out so like as like you will be about to land like attack like maybe both like Martin and Mike like at that very last seconds my numbers for that the tough question 5 is it feels like to at present uh, um, within like the Russian level taken at that point when the reaction totally running into still that scenario and like the person players like at that point without like at that very moment would have already taken out like uh, another like multiple question that to that right before like finding Mike and 1999 might be like against the team of Bruce and like the person the players might have seen this tremendous instantly and so like the first fight is like exactly at that moment, like showing up in front of like the and straight away attacking really it's like the scenario set up. So like at that point, like the uh, due to like interference of the Russian spies and like Mike and the team of like Mike Matthews and then once again getting that open to like once again you to like escape from like really like the scenario by where I'm while an intense fight between like the spy agents and like fully happening at that point is like snap that I'm looking and like even though the top price in the beginning is that as with everything else, like nothing so native to that the added advantage of like the extra power of like the mini mind players that control power like Chilean from the cutting the usually ending up probably or and taking out like the offensive play. It's like the interesting art that I just know about and also the engine. So and I was remembering that at that point that as like Mike the bit of like Mike 11 and vaccine without once again try to like escape that Amazon then finally making it to like my point to like ending up at like the exact location of like the secret like weapons secret combat weapons like and where like exact location where like Papa as well as George as well as Moribo will be present exactly their lives and would be really Australia trying to like turn off that weapon at that point it's like listen up that so like at that point like Papa really shocked and like scenes like really like after like taking out like the personal size and actually without like creating able to making it to one thing find it relevant and also like the scenarios that so that actually with that slow motion would be like walking towards the such information would be walking towards like all of them like at that point I'm just bring that pop up thing until that point we'll be busy like trying to like turn off like the complex machine with like I'm still looking at that point. Definitely I'm looking maybe for at that point like maybe for there to be given a timer. Like maybe I'm looking for succeeding in like turning off like the complex machine with like the keys. But like so still for there to be a timer of like maybe 30 seconds until like the complex machine would be getting turned off. It's like and until that point like the complex machine would be in its like working condition and like the straight like the beam towards like something like it will be continuing on until that 30 seconds due to power. It's like might be like the situation at that point is like missing out of that. So like proper at that point probably realizing that basically we have to like stall and buy time and keep like all of them protected from like the for like exactly 30 seconds even if it's through that would be along the line like hopper if we take one take that upload physically with that upload determination like open up that so like at that point like I'm looking that while the 30-second countdown will be happening like a bit like hopper like at that point like basically doing that look that's to like stall time and like practically from like 11 and those like scenario that I'm get like really talking or falling for and that really say where like in hopper is like looking out for everything so like initially I'm looking for using this like weapon and like still that not even like affecting to the other like this that I'm good. So and like then like I'm looking like that one combat between that proper and things happening in which like I'm doing like really without any difficulty at all would be like probably or for the entity like the scenario that ends up and definitely I'm looking at that point like even the offer would be like usually like telling Joyce will like stay away that Hopper would take care of it like undefinitely as like Hopper will be getting attacked by the leader and Joyce as well would be right. Pushing towards like Hopper and Wesley, even Joyce as well will be doing whatever she can to like lead to this fight to lead after like attack the other that one's like scenario that everything. So like after like building going and sideline Hopper like and so and like Willie next like uh with like another attack like during and sideline Joyce as well with like the scenario. And then like at that point it will be just like 11 Maxine as well as like Mike. It will be just like Maxine as well as like Mike alone to like perfectly down and taking like this in our development. So like at that point, so some different like Maxine as well as like Mike doing that afterwards like so like start time and I'm like so like at that point like both Mike as well as Maxine will be so badly injured and getting sidelined and as like Billy will be getting so close towards like the corners 11 like at that point like I'm talking about like Mike like the band injured might like understand at that point like crawling his way into like basically grab it onto like Philly's leg and basically trying to like still strike him at like still stall time because like 30 few seconds might be remaining at that point. Definitely want the brain version. So and definitely want the brain like that injured might like basically going through some great extent to like protect 11. Like I'm definitely from like a badly injured and sideline state like a bit of a top up review where top and George will be like something with fitness and like extent to which like Michael was like fearlessly and boldly like winning totally winning and Leandro electrically going to see that product that 11 how much that 11 is like how it supposed to like Michael that and something at that point like any from like the value the sideline state like how much like so we get totally at that point is like this is not a yet, even with Black Mike driving also like this Black I'm looking that Billy Black once again attacking and indirect Mike at that point is like this scenario that is just fine. At that point, I was playing like with that next attack of like Billy Black Mike more deadly going unconscious like this scenario. So like 11 at that point would use that and race and like would be screaming at like Billy and like when he like he needs to have everything to like basically unleash out telekinesis at like Billy, but still numbers one like like stamina that point would be at like the uh, at like to the rock that will be 11 definitely won't be still even after like that effort like even still won't be able to like bring out for like getting this power with like that point is like within our for the problem. So like at that point I'm just like 11 like thing on screen and just another attack of like really like I'm just like 11 straight away getting badly injured and sidelined as like within our and then like would have like the new slowly walks towards like 11 and basically would be about to land another attack on like the already badly injured 11 that at that very last second is when I'm just trying that the time of countdown ending up being over and basically the gate like the complex machine, like the beam from like the complex machine lag ending up turning off and basically lag the complex machine turning off and basically lag as like the beam to be like stopping like at that point itself lag the game to like the parallel will lag will be swiftly closing at that point is left like within our that was it. So like at that point is when I'm looking like like the league will be about to like land it's like next attack on that the danger that sideline level like at that very last second is when I'm looking like the gate closing and like Billy as well as like the minimize class that way. The moment like the gate will be closing will get taken out and Billy will be and I'm just going at that point that not just Billy but like all the remaining human army of like the minimize player that have taken control of like all basically unbounced at that point like the scenario that I'm saying. But like even though they will be unbounced like they will have the control of like the minimize player or each and every single one of them could have instantly came undone in that moment like the game before the like in the scenario that I'm going to learn and according to my Mr. Emerson, while all this would be happening like a like the situation with like the team of like Nancy and Jonathan and so like in the with that car like and the friends of like it would be like by the time like the team of like Nancy and Jonathan and Steve and all of them in the car like would be making it towards like the minimize player like I'm putting like the minimize player not like being in that state of like it being not being able to like capture like the because like just they are like the group of like 11 and matching and might put out entered into like the elevator and like put out escape from like the meeting elevator leading to like the Russian Gulabate. and that way might escape from like the captivity and that of like the minimum player just barely in time to step lead to Michael Ambition. So like the minimum player at that point is being like an extremely straight escape like the scenario that I'm saying. It will be exactly at that point that like Johnson, the team of like Johnson and Nancy and Olsen with the task will be making to like the minimum player. It's like the scenario that I'm saying. So like straighter and embrace like minimum player while simultaneously sending that Billy off to that depth of level that the frustrated minimize player self with the straight away once again that would chart straight towards that the top of that energy at that point is like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like at that point at that point self that I'm going to find that jump into the turning around like the car and the once again like that actually chase between chase of like the car by that minimize player that happening once again is like the scenario that happening. During that chase, uh, I'm talking that lead for that Lucas by then without the lead, bottom like the firework into that from like the front by the like the scenario that I'm developing. So like the lead while like the chase will be happening while like the one foot like minimum player will be chasing after like the car like Lucas. Uh, Lucas as well as like will like from the back seat like on most likely using like the fireworks, launching like the fireworks and like attacking back against like the uh against like the speedy incoming chase of like the minimum like with another guarantee and like those fireworks attacks like could be multiple of great number of them like especially landing or like the minimum and definitely like the speed of like the speed from like the fireworks like the like it definitely affecting like the minimum good perception in this like and will be only Australian and driving like the minimum even more like the scenario that like eventually able to bring that chase eventually ending up with like it was like Jonathan while driving like eventually ending up like messing up and definitely so different like the car ending up like crashing and definitely like at that point and at that point I'm different like when the group of like Nancy Johnson Steve as well as like Robin and like Will as well as like Lucas all of them would be like so that part would be badly injured as well as like would be like a disease like state and won't be and not being able to like quickly walk and escape from that crash situation and escape from like the minimum players like scenario that I'm so like the minimum player like quickly at that point like catching up to them and like as like the minimum player with like a single powerful attack like it would be lifting up one of its like tentacles of like its limbs and with like the powerful but as like it will be about to like take the horn out along with their car like at that very last second is when I will run by sheer coincidence like and during that would be the exact point where like I'm looking like the team of like Hopper and Oak would have finally succeeded in closing the gate with like the time of like ending and like the gate closing exactly in time as like the powerful attack of like the main would be about to land of like Steve and Nancy and Jonathan and also and that very last second is like the scenario that was about that way like I'm between like the group of like Jonathan, Nancy, Steve and also like getting saved from like the minimum club and at that point it's like still good scenario that I'm all different and not very right. Okay, so like certainly my question is very important that building on especially that the plan of networks in Mindflayer as well as in Mindflayer might definitely not only be to like take 11 out, but to like take control of like 11 and that way take advantage of like the dedicating powers of like 11 and get access to like the dedicating powers of like 11 to create like multiple gates to like the parallel. Definitely my intentions might be the reason for like Julia right now instead of that taking 11 out like especially affecting 11 right now. It's definitely my intention. It might definitely lead to like take 11 to that minimize quickly and basically to that they have like the minimize be able to like, take control of that 11. It's definitely that might be the plan. It's definitely not the initial. Okay, so like definitely not the impression paper, it's definitely for like the doctor to that badly injured and the pop up as like the doctor by agent with like another attack to be able to like take out like that. That's really after I'm offering that story. Joyce like will be using that weapon and basically taking out like the doctor by agent. But like in the process like I'm offering maybe one of like the weapon attacks like even landing on like pop up as well and that way that putting offer into like even what's the situation as well simultaneously. It's also like about the that and the but even though about company trying to survive it's like the scenario that I'm sorry definitely that way like I'm from different for to definitely be choice that would be at present that I'm so different for to be like choice that would be taking out like up which is by you. and then got to be Joyce that will be finally turning like the keys, and that we're going to reference to more like it will be Joyce that will be like turning for the keys and like turning off like the compass machine like yeah like I'm sitting in my furniture for that probably be that countdown timer. So that way for the prevention I'm going to find like at that point like once like the countdown timer would be beginning like I'm going to find like there have to be a loud siren all throughout like the that secret machine on the laboratory as well during that countdown timer happening at the same time. It's like also like the scenario that I'm and that I'm referring for like the scenario as well to be that the moment choice would be like frustrating like turning for keys and starting off like the timer at that point just by share points and to at that point for like the remaining Russian guards like making it to be making it to that exact point and to straight away attack like Hopper as well as those at that point to like that end point. So like at that point I'm going like just barely in time like I'm going like those as well as like Hopper. And not only escaping but like they will be escaping like I'm something like Joyce ensuring to like after turning like the to begin like the time up to like the conversation and like Joyce will be removed and taking those two keys with like Joyce just barely in time as like with Singapore would be entering and like getting the attack. And like to managing it like that way so that and sometimes you escape with like proper just like barely in time. This like the just scenario that I'm also the correct and not the revision. Definitely I'm also protecting that me for like more environment definitely as well. Along with like offline those who must definitely protecting this survive like the countdown time period and basically like the situation of like the supposed them for different more environment as well like surviving like scenario that so like at that point I'm looking while Joyce as a fundamental creating while Joyce as well as Hopper we are running off and we're trying to like escape from that situation because like I'm putting during that whole run like I'm looking them eventually ending up those are points like crossing path with like more environment from within like that single level and at that point I'm going to be like the three of them together that would be like running and trying to like escape like the that question that point like it's not that I'm looking at like that whole front I'm just running right now to like immediately end up with black pop up the team of black pop up Joyce as well as black more environment finally running and making it to that elevator it's like the scenario that I'm showing, but like and like automatically pressing on like the elevator to like open its door. But like I'm doing that but and I'm delivering at that point like at like the location will deliver elevator like that should actually uh not be any object of that's present guarding like the elevator at that point by sure point since it's like now it's set up to the it. So like that way like the chain of that open towards and more woman making it towards like running and finally making it towards that elevator. But like at that point when I'm like them getting cornered by like the same parking lot and like the door of the elevator would have not opened to that point is like the scenario that I'm in. So at that point like I'm looking like pop up Joyce as well as like more woman thing that basically so it's like game over that basically now like putting in all this like effort like basically it's like the game over for them would be along the lines like how much choice like look like or I don't would be feeling but like at that point is when I don't going like by sure point like exactly at that point I'm totally fun by pop up to the choice as well as like more opponent will be in that corner situation like which and right in front of like the elevator lamp so let's find like the elevator opening with like and of like of like runner and like forces that stepping out that stepping out of that anywhere of that way with like their weapons with all of them armed and with like weapons and any like the scenario that so that way like on this one like the rifles that with in like a series of like things like getting stopped like and like at that point it's like exactly by your content even at that point like once like run up and like forces will be making that grand entrance for like the elevator like exactly at that point, like the count as well of like the conversation as well, stopping and like the gate closing at the same time. It's like the siren turn off and basically the siren ending and basically that the message like a loud message like basically voice message like basically being heard at that point. Announcement of that basically the conversation having turned off being heard exactly at that point by smiling and happy like hope of joy as well as like whatever meant at that point. Uh, by standing beside like runner up, by standing beside like a smiling runner and like just like and that process. It's like saying this gonna that I'm also going right now and my only. Okay, so like definitely my person very interesting right now. It's definitely for like the team of like John and crew with Nancy Star like I'm talking to them quickly right now. It's just like tracking through and breaking down like the with like the car like the front gate or like front door of like the fucking small and basically storming into like the car into like the interior of like the shopping mall and basically straight away person driving like the car and like writing on to that one of like the leg of like the minimum club and that at that point striking that one of like, the legs of like the minimum club with like native stuff and like at that point just like the minimum club like quickly losing it like balance and falling and like by falling like the minimum club by in an accidental manner like by losing balance and falling like the minimum club one of like the minimum clubs like arms like striking to by SharePoint and things, you have to think that person out there and the development. That way, that at this like opening like I'm preferring that exactly at that point I'm preferring like Maxine as well as like my aspect will be making it to that well element would be like lying on that floor exactly at this point. Just like the scenario that I'm so like at that point I'm preferring like after like striking like the leg of like the in my like the car like and bring that Jonathan like for the turning around to be turning around like the traffic and to be turning around like the car and this be straight away telling the group of like Mike and 11 as well as like Maxine. So at that point will be that will be full of Mike as like they will be finally doing that hope of like escape and definitely Jonathan that parking the car, turning around and parking like the truck and parking like the car in front of them and telling them to like get it and straight away to see that Mike and Maxine is carrying 11 and getting on to like the car and basically straight away like Jonathan like taking off like the mall if that's the scenario that I was right. So like at that point, I'm looking like an extremely encouraging stated like minimum club would be would be getting up and basically along with like an encouragement to be and basically fully at that point and like the minimum club would be straight away beginning into like chase after like the Jonathan Star were like at that point like 11 building. So that I'm referring like a dual chase happening where like in front like it would be like Jonathan driving like the car and while being chased by like the monsters like Minimind as well as like Bill. While Billy at the same time would be like taking driving like a van or like another car which might be parked on in front of like open small with the police on by SharePoint. It's like the it's like the scenario that I'm in. That way like a dual chase of like the Minimind as well as like Billy with like the car or like when like chasing after like Jonathan and Pete with the just like saying the scenario that I'm looking for the point. So that definitely I'm looking for like regardless of what of strategy that Jonathan and Pete would be using to like shake them up, like shake the chains of like the movement after like hitting this off like definitely I'm looking those attempts to like shake them up like definitely I'm looking like latest and build like so we either taking advantage of like the fireworks and definitely to likely use the fireworks to like attack like to send like the fireworks and the fireworks like when just landing on like the minimum is definitely one condition. But like still like them won't be able to yet like I'm doing even though it would be like the minimum player like the minimum player would be still pressing on like that change and definitely I'm doing them not being able to do much at all for like the chase of that really with that on car or like a van like the scenario that I'm doing. And definitely that chase is really resulting in like definitely I'm doing like Johnson's back from the ending of like crashing like the car and like we like them all getting into like that kind of like situation with like things enough that I'm looking for the point. I'm not doing. Okay, so like definitely my definitely 1% right now, definitely for like solely due to like a choice, knowing about like the person experiencing the situation in which like 11 and that might and will and all of them are in this like current battles against like the might well in like often small like solely due to like those not being aware of like this like person experiencing the situation of like will and all of them like I'm probably like first right now taking the option of like basically saving of using like the weapon or the precision of like right now it's like turning like the keys and to like turn off the conversation and to like close the tape. This like the scenario that I'm looking for right now. Because like after losing Bob, like after going through like that whole pain and suffering of like losing Bob, like I'm going to bring like those into the place but using that to give up on like pop up in this like indicator is like the scenario that I'm going to and like so that we are doing right now, like the scenario to be like choice while choice to like to stare at like the cheese and is we also staring at like certain the situation is like pop up event by like the first file and that we are going to like Joyce like at that point like remembering that uh like the the scenario is like she had lost pop this data play I'm whispering like Joyce straight away like picking up like the weapon and basically using it and basically taking off like the upwards of fire and saving all of us like the scenario that up to the basic among friends and like at that point itself on the front like after like doing that like I'm sort of like goes definitely straight away like turning off turning the keys and turning on to the things like the scenario that I'm about to can okay, so like definitely my book very interesting right now. It's definitely for like you need to like definitely survive because like I'm totally like by the time those will be succeeding in like closing the gate like I'm totally like the mind flare like you know done so much of like damage like with like multiple with like definitely multiple attacks of like current attack that you're taking from like the mind flare like I'm totally like unlike in like events case like I'm with of like that of like a single fight mark like I'm just like really having multiple fights now. By the time that the gates will be closed and like the minimum will be taken out as like the scenario that I'm in. And right now, the bring that the moment like the gate will be closed, like the along with like the minimum player, like all the monster, multiple monster elements that at that point would have from those multiple bite marks would have then stopped up more entered to be that and like all those monster elements as well, like instantly getting taken out. At the moment, like the game would be closed along like the minimum class like scenario that I'm putting right now. Yet like I'm putting that that attack of like the multiple by like the minimum class like I'm putting that doing significant damage to and significant extent of like injury to that for delay that I'm putting that by the time like the game will be closed like the minimum class will be taken out like I'm putting that Jonathan and all of them that like they're rushing off to like the hospital with like to be being in such an extremely painful kind of like critical situation is like the scenario that I'm looking at. Definitely I'm putting that unlike in that Bob's case, like I'm putting that in like today's case, like I'm putting that definitely things working out eventually and definitely I'm like really they're like surviving is like the presidential scenario that I was just talking. Yet like I'm yet like at the same time like really only returning from being able to return from like the hospital after like few months of like recovery period. There's also like maybe like an eventual maybe an eventual scenario that I'm just really and so like until that point I'm totally from like my belief would be in this like for belief to be in like better than kind of state during that recovery period and like at that point I'm totally probably that everyone until that point couldn't afford even approach or even talk to actually seriously adopt that it will be like beliefs like extreme aggressive nature like understanding like them or like visiting belief and like basically saying everything they want to like tell to at that point it's like the scenario that I'm definitely able to the next day so maybe visiting belief the group of like Mike and all of that visiting belief and like seriously telling for that they so far might have worked badly wanted to like tell belief it's like the scenario that I'm thinking, and like I'm going to bring maybe with, or like probably being like with such an intent like them like of music feeling, but like I'm going to bring that them that by the time they will be making it to like really like while they will be maybe participating like an aggressive belief like even in like the better kind of state like yeah like I'm talking by then like through like those words of like you know connecting to that traumatic memory of that feeling uh, of connecting to like this mother. Definitely, those words of 11 might have permanently changed Billy and might have that might have been what like Billy might have been badly desiring for like Billy, that feeling of comfort that Billy might have got while 11 might have that talk to Billy about like those uh, haunting memories of like which might be haunting memories definitely memory ambition. So definitely that from this point on itself that from the moment like everyone might even talking about like Billy's like mother to like Billy like anything like Billy might have had that absolute recovery in the case of like like had to go back to like the old Billy before this like aggression might have been definitely mentioned. But that way like one like Johnson and like Steve as well as Mike and also significantly the better than the attack of like them all being shocked but by saying like a totally different Billy uh, for the lack of the totally extremely nice to the first like the who won't be showing any signs of like aggression at all. Who won't be having like any aggression at all. Like in this scenario, this is all of and that way ultimately creating by the time like season 4 of like Stranger Things would be beginning like on the like and Billy would have left like the hospital would have been discharged from like the hospital and like from that point on like Billy would have would be ending up being part of like the gang of like Mike and Johnson and Steve and all of them that in their whole fight against like the Sam Gordon like the Minecraft like the person up that I'm able to fight and a friend what sort of email redemption right now is definitely for like of like supply and these like people in like covered suits that have some shown up like might definitely be Owens and just like he might be like definitely so like if they are wearing this like disinfectant kind of like covered suits like definitely preparing right now for the scenario to be like of that to definitely be the complex machine to definitely go through like an explosion of like all those like green liquid material that's like figured onto like the complex machine like the multiple of them that's like figured onto like the one machine like and bring like exploding like the moment that choice would be turning like the keys and turning off the complex machine with like another that everything and that contains rooms where like the complex machine is like while the complex machine will be turning off and like while the key would be instantly getting closed like scenario that I'm doing at that point like that contained room where like the complex machine turned off on complex machine will be filled with that smoke from like the green liquid like the moment like the combustion return of like the green liquid uh like totally breaking the glass container contains like the green liquid like totally breaking to that point and basically like smoke like thick smoke like filling that contains almost like the scenario that I'm exploring yet like and only cutting since uh, like uh, like these like people in this disinfectant kind of like soap might upon the memory might definitely coincide with like things that we are for like collectively entering into like that contain foam and basically quickly saving for like the scenario that I'm story for and definitely I'm not for instance like points himself is like another like definitely I'm bring that one definitely right there itself that predict in that like secret and the laboratory Russian and the laboratory like that like on to like quickly predict of and saving of is like the scenario that I'm in. Yet like I'm something like that the effects of that being exposed to like that bit more it's like a scenario that I'm causing like permanent issues for like Hopper. It's like the scenario that I'm just yet like I'm something Hopper still surviving and like in like season 4 definitely Hopper will be definitely I'm totally maybe like Hopper going take maybe about for like months to like recover get like Hopper still eventually returning back to like the game to like eventually in like season 4 to like once again fight like the fan board. And also the thing of the remission for like along with like the people multiple people in like schools like and something like it's upon there might be points and this thing that like with that thing that might have also brought like a bunch of us like forces as well to like bring down like the Russian force in like the secret energy laboratory in like the series of things like that I'm looking at. So definitely by now like the Russian forces would have got stopped by Owens' team with like the that I'm looking at like and great. So like that way, like right now, self entrepreneurs will be freely able to that only with full freedom will be able to like properly read proper and save proper. Right now, it's like doing this in our that I'm very very understanding. And that way, according to my information, the government solely due to the presence of like the people in like the disinfectant suit that the significant might be points and state. Solely due to the potential on definitely around like proper like even thoroughly badly attacked by like the minimized club, still unstoppable recognize likely surviving solely due to the Owens and teams of the fellow. If like the Wilson that are sitting on the next good for like the Lehman Korea percentage that like how might out of the jump down like the stairs and might out like touch down onto like the ground during like the moment of that while George had like turned off the combat machine and like explosion the combat machine might have been, and that way, like, Hopper might have been survived, especially might be ranked in fighting out. So definitely, I'm looking with like Bowman as well as like Joyce right now. I don't think to like escape from like something like definitely prepping like them definitely getting without this grade like getting into like a corner like state situations and so the point that most likely definitely happening most likely while Maradona as well as like those will be finding would be that up that will be hiding and finding will be still be making it to that elevator like at that point is when I was very like them getting found and captured and into like a like kind of a situation and at that point some from the different like elevator door opening up and like coincidence selecting and that showing up through the elevator and stopping like sort of those like scenarios that I'm supposed to bring. And like definitely at that point still like those would be totally extremely disturbed and that would be totally assuming that like that she had lost hope. But like I'm referring to at that point that I'm referring like while constantly it is showing up and stopping the correction goes like that point is when I'm referring that Joe's would be thinking about like pop up and Joe's would be right. And at that point I'm referring like unexpected like uh shout out to like of shout like the voice of like pop-up like in the more theory where like I'm referring like a badly injured pop-up like struggling to explain through that difficult just like the representative that uses to like quickly move around through like the teacher question of the rubber maybe pop-up like making his like grand return while badly injured and while still managing to like drive that vehicle and is making it towards like the elevator and such a return of like copper happening. And I'm referring maybe like the moment like copper will make it there like copper like would be collapsed from that exhaustion and totally owns like straight away like getting drinking copper and saying that it's like the scenario that I'm referring to. Yes, so like the legal differentiation right now, that is really like copper don't like definitely coach might not be felt that strongly that it will in focus rate for duty totally to like to ensure that like to take good care of that 11 and like that way like Joe's might have definitely of that incident like something more like once like the gate was closed like and without any delay at all like and Joe's might have straight away uh, might have that 11 was like totally scattered with like the realization of like the loss of like hope like at that point definitely Joyce might have not only the comfort of 11 but like might have definitely told 11 to like stay at like Joyce's home and basically as like and to sort of select resource her as her mother and basically uh, definitely I'm referring like that way Joyce might have probably brought 11 to Joyce's home and definitely I'm referring like might have wanted to take 11 at that point definitely I'm referring might have wanted to like take 11 with him to like Mike's home but like definitely I'm referring like friendly Joyce that might have told Mike that basically definitely Mike definitely not going to allow that. So definitely Joyce so like usually might have agreed and like that way Joyce might have brought 11 to like Joyce's home and that way for like a few days like 11 might have stayed at like Joyce's home along with like Jonathan and the like bit might be like the case and definitely Joyce might have definitely fixed in her mind to like definitely for stuff to like definitely and Joyce might have had that interaction with like Owen and basically Owen might have given that absolute guarantee to like Joyce that basically at this point it's like complete state for like 11 to be with like career and live with like careers and this like this stuff might be along the line that Owen might have given that a choice to like Joyce. And definitely that way that Joyce along with like might have definitely head off to careers to like careers and basically might have at present I'm referring to positive like either 11 at present might be like after 3 months like at present like 11 might be either living at like and staying at like career home along with like along with the career or the possibility that I'm referring it for like Joyce might and Nancy might have had like the talk about like for definitely for like how can they like give that comfort to like in that like some situations of that they might have actually came down to the conclusion of like basically Nancy might have been confident and confident along with like might could actually get their parents to like basically to give them enough money for like the renovation of like focus like destroyed homes and basically that way like and that way as well as Mike might have actually Mike and Nancy might have somehow managed to like got their to get their parents to like give them that money for like the renovation of that office home and basically definitely they might have renovated the office home and basically like careers around the stuff like Nancy might as well as like Case might have met them and like that Joyce might have three of them might have gotten career stuff to like agree to that, to like quickly move to that, get tools that run away from like Hopper. And they really, so that is after 3 months, like at present, like, 11 might be living at like that renovated form of like Hopper, along with like careers and career system might be like the applicable to the like a person that was going to the amongst the also like those might have also like definitely gotten somehow managed to like get career list like the job at like the exact place like Joyce used to work at like the stop that Joyce used to work like they are like a different that Joyce might have definitely managed to like get the job for like career service for well. So like at present like along with like Joyce like career service for well might be working at that stop. Uh, might be like that particular considerations that we might interact. And also at person like 11 might be taking absolute good care of like career. It's exactly like how Hopper in like the past took good care of like 11 like it's definitely might be the case. Person is definitely the friend. Also that 3 months later, person like Steve and Robin might have definitely be in like a relationship with definitely in friends. And that they are still in the friends in that like Robin is Robin's friend about like her like having looked like man crush on like I think like one of like the girls in like Steven or class back then in like Christian class like definitely that might have definitely been a light by Robin solely to that see that Steve's like reaction to that only cast and see how much like Steve genuinely at that point like had feelings of affection towards like Robin might be along the lines it might have been cast by Robin which like Robin might have done on Steve. Uh, and in actuality, like definitely that might be Steve himself that like Robin, even since like can pass even to the person might be obsessed with and might have been having that as a friend. At present, like so that way, like Steve can after like the whole closing of the gate and everything like from that Robin might have put in the truth to like Steve and they leave that way 3 months later at present like Robin and Steve might be definitely in that relationship. Because definitely might be like the case at present, definitely member so I'm still gonna make friend of like for like in like season 4 of Stranger Things definitely for like George and Nancy to like to eventually start a detective agency and like in which like Nancy Joyce as well as Johnson as well would be like a detective agency and I'm considering so on my preparation right now I'm considering that as the psoriasis to start as well I'm considering maybe at that point like ending up joining and getting part of the job working at like the detective agency at that point if that given scenario like and definitely I'm bring and all of them will be like by then like will be realizing the extreme importance of like it's not just about like with them at that point will be feeling that like it's not just about like survival as in the case of like them wanting to have a job alone but like even more than that it's like especially with like them probably having lost like people so extremely close and precious to them like Barbara, Bob, as well as like Hopper, like basically at least as early detective whenever like the mind flap in like the future even attempting in like for them to be able to like if they are able to like early like detect like all this like movements of like the like of like the mind flap like as soon as swiftly as possible, like then like basically they might be able to they will also be able to like prevent such like losses of like which is people from that like would be along the lines of looking like the crucial relevance of that with the traffic perspective, which is still agency or like an investigating agency then the crucial relevance of that starting one subject like basically that by season 4 like I'm looking at just as well as Nancy the things that can really come to that realization and basically that way that such predictive agency getting formed in that season 4 that's going to bring that very good scenario that is still one of the frames. So my different impressions that like it's like Maxine logically like I'm definitely like Maxine not wanting to that basically to put me the part of me as far as like step up. It's like the snap that instead like I'm like Maxine the to like stay with like 11 and definitely I'm like that way like happily that 11 Maxine and like careers along with like careers and like career like basically live together at like the renovated platform at that point upon the information which like the scenario that is about for any so like the events right now it's like design like the teddy bear like there might be cassette that like video tape that like made of which might contain that basically that the video of that back when like Sarah was like focused on the actual of Sarah was like alive and this that then Hopper and like Sarah to be enjoying and having fun together like basically like those video might contain in that that is like the finale that I'm looking forward to. It's like I'm looking like learn right now while trying to like pick up like the river like softly finding like the that so that's it. I'm looking will be having like Sarah written on top of it stuff onto it's like the scenario that I'm looking so like 11 I'm thinking like quickly putting like the cassette onto like and like maybe like watching that pop up that would be anything like pop up and like Sarah like having fun and everything. So definitely at that point I'm referring for like for relevant that to be such seeing pop up once again like basically and along with like I forgot Sarah like basically and pop up like what we're realizing that basically that like somewhere like pop up was trying to like relive uh those memories through like 11 would be the nights and that 11 would be only realizing that how much like 11 meant for like Hopper, even though 11 knows it already like seeing that videotape like in that I think 11 into tears is like the scenario that is like and not the end. Then the spring after watching it like 11 definitely destroyed that tape scenario that is like 11 like definitely I'm looking like it would might be definitely like the trained out stamina issue alone that like 11 wasn't able to like disrupt telekinesis house that final showdown battle against like the minimum the minimum drain. So definitely at present like 11 might have regained back after again about the minimum drain. So definitely for like after like watching like the tape like and like 11 like only that strong the tape because definitely with the being no hop up no Sarah like that name like definitely won't be wanting to like see that take ever again in like 11 like either definitely not French 11 might best friend want to like so definitely from like the pain of like a lot of pop definitely not French so definitely I'm not like 11 like point that take right and like the not to the real again so like definitely my story I'm touching right now is that like since like the last time like 11 was able like it's not elegant about was to like get rid of that most of element in that bite both of like the minimize that totally putting what might have happened might have been like even though 11 using a telekinesis powers like that then was able to like remove that monster element still like the spreading might have happened to the point of that even 11 removing that monster element still might have not fully removed that the great extent of like the monster element which might have spread deeper within like 11 might be like that sort of situation but even for instance might be the so like the situation with like 11 might be slowly in like going through the process of like basically slowly transforming into like a humanoid might be like the activity of the situation. Definitely when to ambition. So like due to like with closing of that frigate in like the secret question of the laboratory that from that point on like this like spreading might have slowed down significantly. Uh, Pace of like spreading through 11 like body might have slowed down significantly at that point. Uh, might have been the case of even yet like the spreading might be still in effect and might be even though it's extremely slowly might be still spreading more and more throughout like levels like chronic might be like that certain situations that even about this like I'm talking about late in like season 4 like I'm talking about towards like the very end final phase of like season 3 I'm talking about for it to be like 11 shocking finding out about that like something else like about but like something is like off with her or like her body it's like basically the very first sign of that spreading of like the element of like the minimized graph still present within like elements of that body. Like I'm not referring like most likely finding like seeing the sign of that to be like the final scene of like season three of Stranger Things like in scenario that I'm looking at. In like season 4 of Stranger Things and I'm totally referring like Mike and the Thanksgiving like being extremely worried and telling Mike and others about this like telling Mike about the situation and definitely I'm going to bring at that point like Mike telling the others and basically that I'm going to bring at that point for like them to totally decide to like solve Owens and basically definitely as like the description, definitely I'm referring like to the choice that I'm referring like like choice will be finding out about this like situation of like 11 like and maybe at that point like choice by then like I'm putting those would have definitely have formed that absolute trust feeling of trust towards like instantly so like me I'm referring to the choice person that would be calling Owens and I'm sort of different like Owens like doing a checkup on like 11 and definitely I'm referring at that point like Owens totally finding out about like this like spreading of the element of like the mini mind where like can spread even though it might be it would be like totally detecting that like spreading like such at such the flow is like definitely it's like totally spreading throughout like element that body will be along the lines of different like points like totally finding out about this minimum levels. So like definitely I'm different like at that point like Owens himself trying to like get rid of that spreading by like using that whole temperature strategy, increasing temperature strategy. It's not very different, like even while like using that such temperature increasing strategy, like I'm okay for that point still, even though 11 could be going through a lot of pain and suffering at that point, like still like for like points like actually not being able to like get rid of the project of like the monster of like the mindful element, monster element within like 11 is like the scenario that I'm doing. And that's the reason would be like that point could be revealing at that point would be not like really like 11 like body being completely different to uh will of any other humans like body feel to like foreigners like experiment that foreigner chance that on 11 in like the past like causing that like that whole power that telekinesis powers and all the telepathy powers as well as like the agriculture, the top weight power, like all these power that like even though at present might be like is in like a government like state like still like the those powers will be very much alive within 11, even though 11 might be able to like bring it out like those powers might be very much alive even to the person even to the person at that point within like 11 and basically like these like elements of like the mind mini mind might have interacted managed to like interact with those powers and might have hijacked and taken over those powers within like 11 in its like talking state like these monster might have taken control of that power get like even while it's so like controlling and that causing like not even like the temperature increase to be for like the monster element to within like 11 to shield itself using those powers from within like 11 and that way not even unlike in like wind case like not even like increasing temperature being able to like other planet causes suffering to like 11 not being able to like get out like the remove like the elements of like the minimize within like 11 and along the lines of like the situation in which like they will be and like which like trying to find at that point on to the getting so like at that point like them when they come to such a situation where like only way on should be telling them that the only way for them to like save 11 would be to like wipe out like the original source which would be definitely and like points telling us that basically they want to like say they only have like a certain extent of time left before like spreading even though slow by then would have spread a lot throughout like 11 so once like the spreading to like something like more technical event would be turning into like a mindful monster so it like if they want to be able to like save 11 that they have to do it before that short time period before that time period would be along the lines on would be telling them and like the only way to like say 11 would be to like destroy like the source and that way like at that point like I'm saying like my kind of like only looking at these and 11 like basically because like at that point I'm referring them or coming to that realization that like at least uh, in that situation like for them to like save 11 then they will have to like travel to create like open up themselves like somehow manage to like open up the gate to like the parabol and go to like the parabol and destroy like the original giant mind collapsing like the parabol would be along the lines of that stuff and realization at that point will be happening for like 11 and Mike and all of them. At that point is like the scenario that I'm doing. And from that point on, like that up realization and looking like it would be like the uh preparation like scenario for like Mike and all of them like basically teaming up once again and basically like them like formulating all these strategies like brainstorming with like ones as well and like definitely they've all come down to the conclusion that basically definitely like that they have been running and running from like these monsters of like the parent god for so long, and they have lost so many precious individuals through the process basically finally time that they face the mortar and they bring it down and destroy it once and for all. Would be along the lines of the spring. It would be Nancy. Nancy's words that I'm about to bring at that point it would be Nancy that in the same dialogue is within our that I'm about to go with that. To which at that point all of them would be agreeing is within our that I'm about to go. That way them getting all the help with nature Joyce as well as Nancy and all of them along with Murray Bowman as well as Point and his team as well as Steve and Robin all of them basically joining and basically forming that absolute team with that absolute ultimate goal and setting up that absolute ultimate goal and creating that master plan as to how to with that absolute strength to really infiltrate into the battlefield without the Organs and Mindflayer finding out and basically with such absolute stealth to find the nest of the original giant nest of the layer of the original giant Mindflayer for them to through a stealthy strategy for them to okay, destroy the layer along with the original giant Mindflayer while it will be rusting in its layer would be along the line of their initial planning that they would be making. Yet I'm putting some of that planning initially totally backfiring and basically the giant of the mind player that stealth strategy quickly failing and that the giant mind player finding out about it at some point and basically at that point basically while they will be getting chased by the giant mind player would be when coming to them would be while trying to escape would be by sheer points of what we are running into that location left the parallel which has already been prepared multiple times on the past bar and the this light source only light source of this great number of lampposts which would be most likely leading to runners secret laboratory within the parallel supplement where runners at certain might be hiding and might be really searching for a way to maybe bring down the giant of the mind player and these light sources of they contain within the lamppost means they contain electrical material which for enough to bunch of experience might have created and which might have these shining light materials might be having unique materials might be having the power of basically scaring and running away any monsters of the bad including the giant of the might be it's the leave them to that way almost before heading to the bad numbers from them also the league 11 probably revealing my kind of about Cali and then them getting Cali's help as well. Definitely my was very ambitious. So Cali as well some primarily at that point along with Leon and all of them definitely heading trying into the band but eventually them ending up running into front of the band and definitely they are some different eventually also threatening those who have made either having that change their friend basically actually at present experimenting on human individuals to create an army of humans with very exact same telekinesis powers as that of 11 and basically Pranav while fundamental operation might be as present secretly at the secret space lab which Pranav might have created within the target might be exact location where Pranav might be and definitely understanding that way Pranav most likely while heading sneaking out from the real world and going up to creative place in the Albert from the symbol at that point he might have brought a bunch of his fellow kind elements which might be according to Pranav that the might be actually turned up into weapons 11 through that's the knowledge that might have gained through experiment on 11 finally become such an 11 game almost 20,000 might have definitely plan to so that experience and knowledge for to create an army of superhumans turn his development into superhumans by depending on that in the band world and to only use them and the telekinesis powers eventually to only fight and bring down the original giant mind be along the lines runner might be planning is one possibility that or runner might be still in a position might have not have that change to the certain to the path good but one of the person might be realistic and greedy and given to the person like maybe like while conducting all like pick up experiments in like the world. Runner's actual plan might be through like probably weekend and capture like the giant original mind flare. The runner plan might have been like after like finding out about like the original giant mind flare, like might have had this like realistic theory plan in his mind to like create like the ultimate weapon, which might even seriously rival like even in events like ultimate which might be to like probably for like runner to like legally like probably attempt to like actually capture like the giant original mind flare and basically to for like one of to like experiment on like the uh, giant or put like the giant of in Minecraft like being to like some kind of like immobilized state and basically for like one of to like experiment on it and basically to modify like the giant or the Minecraft somehow through like experiments and to create like mini versions of like army of like mini versions of like the giant of Minecraft along with like a bunch of cases from design and like that way creates that will be all listening to like the commands of like one of like focus like experience and basically and that way to like sell them as like weapons to like the suppose like webs with the screen might be maybe around the lines like one of might have like a to like go in the critical path while escaping to like the parallel world and setting up in like with the like in the critical path might have been what might have happened with like some possibilities that I'm looking for that's the case that comes to like like eventually like for like once like the gang of like might and all of them will be using that way from the running into like another that's when like someone sitting on that after fake acting as like he definitely wants to like go entering down like the open giant Minecraft that he has changed and when he will be like secretly hiding his like secret and really and villanistic intent and basically that way like run up like pretending to like help Mike and others and like talking about like the weakness of like the Open Giant Mind Flap and giving Mike and others like some sort of weapons to like fight like the giant Open Mind Flap and while Mike and others will be struggling against like the fight against like the giant Open Mind Flap like really uh for enough at that point like revealing his like betrayal that he was like using Mike and all of them as like a bait to like capture like the giant in Minecraft and that way like while Colonel could be attempting like capture like the giant Minecraft like at that point like almost like attempt capturing like the giant Minecraft like taking out kind of it's like the scenario that I was doing and like that opening that maybe seeing what which will be giving like the opening to like Mike and all of them to be able to like somehow take down and bring down like the giant coastal Minecraft. So also like another possible even scenario that I'm going to or like the web of video that I'm going for like in like the fan world for like at some specific location like where maybe like it being at like the layer of like the giant or the Minecraft like underground like they are possibly also existing like with like extremely huge giant monster like land like from which like all the minds of like the bad world will be spreading all the way into like the real world as well in past in like the past and everything might be like the like the coming together. So like that it's also being like that actual giant plant like half percent underground somewhere in like the bad world or at like the location of like the layer of like the giant of the might and basically I can others like basically sitting in like team A and team B with like team A like focusing on like basically striking like and getting like the giant of the mind like away from like the source plan like how while team B will be focusing on like attacking and destroying like the man like how is like the other possible scenario in the final one like the scenario that I'm going to bring on the brain. It's a like that might open the real position right now that the pop-up might actually be alive to the present especially but might be trapped in like the parent might be like that situation like that like because okay that project wasn't perfect and my different understand because like that we right before like those turned off like the conversation like secret and the about evidence like the more like I'm right before turn off like the complexity that pop up you know to like survive and escape might out at that very last second might out totally jump in into like that case that was like being created so like the combat machine like something like at that very last second like before like just turning off the combat machine like might have managed to like swim through that tiny gate and might have made it to like the parent world and might have escaped like the explosion of like the combat machine might be like the case of like seriously likely possible scenario possibility that I'm preparing another 300 right now. And definitely I'm preparing so like might have been solely due to like the gate that way after that, like soon after that, like getting close might have been like solely reason for like not being able to like, unlike will in like the simple while will got trapped in like the bad world, like the fact that Will was able to like communicate to like Joyce through like the lights, like Hopper might have desperately tried to like communicate to Joyce like multiple times, like and 11 multiple times over like the course of like this past 3 months, but like it might have not happened solely due to like the gate being closed, through the light, like Hopper might have understood like communicate to like Joyce, and as well as like 11 might or like the person in the past 3 months and say might have been what might have happened is definitely not the so definitely different that choice most likely get finding like without considering like or like towards like the very end of like season 3, like the different like the final scene maybe being like choice maybe like finding some sort of like a clue, specific clue, maybe think of like the possibility of like maybe like Hopper having escaped through like the gate, uh, like basically such opportunity that will be forming within like Joyce's mind, and definitely I'm looking like Joyce this definitely this like might have been so extremely disturbing for like both Joyce as well as Level, like them both might have not bothered to inquire like the details about like Hopper's like loss might be like the case definitely not very much. And then it's like Joyce probably calling Owens and basically inquiring with like Owens and all like basically uh, like about like the loss of like copper, and basically at that point like phones like most likely revealing to like Joey that basically copper like body was not found. So like at that but like Owens might have straight away been of like the assumption straight away that like it's due to like that complex machine like it wasn't like probably wiping out like a bunch of those like kind of even with like disinfectant suits and masks and everything, like police might have straight away went back and might have straight away assumed that like the person was in that manner might have been wiped out. But like Joy should be getting this like hunch, strong hunch of like a feeling that basically affected also that maybe that Hopper back then having escaped by squeezing through like the tiny gate to like the parallel. So like George would be telling to maybe Owens as a, like, about the as like a positive. And definitely on the spring at that point, like even Owens would be totally strongly shocked because like Owens might only at that point told Joyce that Owens might be actually start reflecting of such a possibility. Definitely remembering, so definitely to maybe to like find out the truth, definitely able to bring like Joyce would be definitely would out of the fixed in her mind to like definitely somehow find a way to like open up like the gates again and basically enter into like the world and to like see like pop up the world. Just like the scenario that I would bring, and number one by share point was like it would be around this time that like I'm different like the situation with like 11 as well getting worse with like not only 11 not being able to like this any of the Pelican response, but also like I'm sort of like 11 like starting to like have feel like difficulties like even in like the sun and difficulties with like warm temperature and preferring cold temperature. It's like within about like range of scenario that 11 eventually displaying these behaviors like range of scenario that are and that way like eventually like the situation with like of like 11 lakh and not like going to be finding out about this like and like at this exact during that exact time like I'm like um I'm probably talking like those as well would be having this like serious like doubt of like the probability of like copper being trapped in the chip as well. So like definitely that they're definitely that them or would definitely be wanting that having that much more of like a reason to like definitely as soon as possible like open up the gate and themselves to like open up the gate that time and basically for them to like integrate into like the parallel world and basically to like save 11 as well as to like see like copper is left or not. It's like there's a scenario that I'm looking at that way. Like at that point, definitely that the that person that they would be wanting at that point would be definitely Gary. Like at that point, 11 will be telling Joyce about like Gary, how Gary can use Gary have telekinesis powers and can open up the gates. Would be like along the lines like 11 would be telling Joyce at that point like the scenario that I'm going with them. So like them all at that point the entire gang being on like the hunt to like actually find Gary like and them all like heading off to like Illinois and basically like on in like the subs to like find Gary at that point. It's like the engine enough that I'm of the correction of frame. Okay, so like the thing might just be right now that like how far definitely alive, and like how that developer might have survived like that person of the complex missing might have been either through Hopper squeezing himself into the gate through the gate uh, just before like the complex machine store might have been how Hopper and hence like Hopper might be trapped in like the bad but like one of the in the other facility or like what might have happened might have been like Hopper might have during like the first of the conversation Hopper might have jumped from like stairs he was like standing close to the complex machine and might have down and might have even though that during that way we might have been able to like minimize like the damage from like the explosion of the government machine and like even that might have caused like a lot of like significant injuries to like Hopper might have been so injured, badly injured and unable to like move. Hopper might have still survived, might have been like the case continuing through. And so like what might have happened might have been like while Owens and his like team had like basically infiltrated into like the secret exhibition of the laboratory finally like at that point of the film what might have happened might have been like maybe one or two not like two or three like Russian forces Russian guards like uh, while being present at like the secret exhibition of the laboratory during like the sudden infiltration of like phones and this like team might have stealthily hidden themselves and might have so that absolute stealth might have taken down a few of like own like team members and might have quickly uh, like put on the disguise of like phones of like team members might have been like the case for women's orientation and that way like they might have put that absolute disguise like they might have probably by pretending to like act accordingly to like phone team like by pretending to be one of like phones of like team members like they might have like searched throughout like that and while like moving around through like that person and of these laboratory like they might have probably them by sheer concept they themselves might have been like the one to like really end up seeing like pop up alive even though badly injured like alive uh, and like might have been so extremely injured that like he might have not even been able to like make a sound or like Hopper might have gone to like an unconscious kind of state once like the conversation might have been like the human training, but like Hopper might have still survived human training. So like these two or three like Russian guards in like this guy as like Phone's team members might have stealthily managed to like transport Hopper without like Phone's like other actual team members like or like on like when finding out might have been out of like the secret Russian and level it might have been like the case like one possibility that I'm looking for or like I'm just like among like once it like team itself like I'm just there might have been like one or two or three of them who might have been like stealthy traitors who might be secretly allied to and might have in like the past as well might have helped stealthily helped betrayed like phones and might have stealthily helped like the Russian forces like with like information in exchange for like money might be also the case like and the possibility that I'm looking for it. So like it might be either them that might have like been by SharePoint being exactly the one to like only spot pop up uh, like in that location where like the conversation and explode and might be that way that them that might have steadily managed to like transport like pop up all the way and bring pop up all the way to like Russia might be what might happen like the possibility that I'm looking for. So like definitely at present like they while like in like Russia in like this like Russian face like kind of like location like so it's a strange things like basically with like one of like the Russian guards like telling and Russian post member like telling not the American like that American might be Hopper like so Hopper might be at present at like with like a Russian base like in an in kind of like state with like the other possibly in like a series of strange things that I'm trying to put so also might have very unfortunate right now as for like what might have happened with like the complexity in secret Russian experiment which took place in Russia which I think was like revealed at like the very beginning of like the very first episode of like history of strange things that I'm thinking what might have happened there might have been that there in Russia like I'm bringing that in that experiment of the complexity in that experiment might have succeeded they might have succeeded which is the human experiment and the believe the gate might have been opened, but like the moment the gate might have not opened, like it might have been like the exact like plan like green color that tasteless similar monster that might have probably jumped out of like the gate. Exactly like how might have been a similar scenario to like how when in the beginning, very beginning of like the so Stranger Things when Eleven had like opened up the gate, like the instantly like face monster like jumping out into like and the lava pit might have been a similar scenario there as well. In that in Russia, in like that Russian the lava pit might have been like quickly like it might have been like there might have by sheer coincidence there might have been a Facebook humor monster presence like exactly like the password at that exact location in like the Russian and the lava pit one like they might have opened the gate so like that faces monster might have people jumped in to like the Russian into the real world from like the password into like that Russian and the lava pit and might have straight away started like attacking or the Russians that created who might have been present at like that Russian and the laboratory at that location at that exact time might have been the case that we remember before. So like I'm referring like one of the correctional force member might have quickly that turned off like the complex machine at that point itself might have been what might have happened especially in the reaction because like to prevent like because like it might have been a scenario where like one single phase to similar amounts of cells might have been like rampaging through that area taking off like lot of elements and basically like so like seeing that what like and like one of like the working person that might have quickly like put in first two keys and might have turned off like the complexity straight away might have been like the case between us. So like at that point like the gate might have been closed and that way like this like single face monster alone might have been in like a trap like situation in that person cannot be never might have been or might have happened especially memory damage and definitely the spring like in the case of like in the case of like the face humanoid monsters in like the past in like Hawkins in like the wood in that force like the linear to like create like gates to like the pan board by its own power on or even trees and even walls like and that even be possible for like the face the humanoid monsters like and in like the symbols in like Hawkins might have been solely to like the already the gates to like the pan board in like within like the muscle and the love back and already remaining in like open like case like might have been like the case that we will frame. So like here in the case of like the in Russia in like the Russian energy laboratory, what might have happened might have been like once you like according to my parameter of this like quickly once this like cases similar ones that might have been threatened to like that Russian lab and quickly it's like Russian force member might have quickly turned off like the complex machine and basically the conversation might have provided like still even at that point like this like cases monster alone might have survived the explosion of like that complex machine. Yet at that point like once the gate was closed like and the point like just like face most of human monster might have not been able to like create its own like gate to like the panel so due to that gate created by like the conversation like it's person at that point might have been like a and that way like the base monster might have gotten trapped in like base human monster might have gotten trapped in like that personal gate about it might have been what might have happened to one for them. So the places like and like I'm referring like the Russian force members might have been talking ballistic later who plays since like even 3 months back like since like 11 did not like infiltrate into like the Russian energy laboratory or like use of any powers to like fight up against like any persons in like the Russian energy laboratory that they are referring like even to the person made like the Russian force members might be believe that like um that like 11 is like no more that is need uh, that like they have lost 11 during that whole uh, fight against like the big face sooner or more tough in like fucking school where like 11 got trapped in like the fan world back then uh, while taking out like the humanoid monster like I'm going to that incident like that 11 was like no more might be along the line that even to the person like I'm doing like the members might be being most definitely member so like they might be in like that as for the trade need for like a and like they might be also feeling that like maybe since that incident like they had like lost runner as well might be along the line like they might be thinking the new dreams so like they might have back then like given up like their goal of like basically so, like the loss of like runner as well as like living push might be what they might have given like them might have been they might have given up on like their hopes of like basically being able to get their hands on some sort of like an ultimate weapon. So instead, like they might have created like Photoshop, just creating like the complex machine and basically to create like that stealthy travel between like Russia to like America to like basically through the access to through the complex machine to create access to like the barricade and basically to create that stealthy pathway for like the offense to like infiltrate to like other countries. In like the web series of Stranger Things might be along the lines of the like that way to complex machine like project might have like at that point began and basically was like they are being a complex machine in like Russia, which was building like the very beginning of like system exchange things as well as like they are being a complex machine under like the happens now as well. Like sometimes we doing this like they might have been actually like that it might have been to like create this like pathway for like two gates to be open like secretly one secretly beneath like open mouth as well as like one in like China laboratory in Russia and basically that way for like the groups to like basically to like integrate into like the parent word and basically to like through like the private group like the parent word that we like attempt to like invade like through like the audience through the rationality level of beginning like the through the gate and like the rationality level of it beneath like the morning might have been like the plan that the Russian like the received the thing to exactly my very understood. So that leads with like that friend getting destroyed with like the commercial team beneath like the morning coffins like getting destroyed like either like before that happening or like it might have been even after that commercial team in the like the morning coffins was like destroyed like the Russians might have still kept going on with like their experiment of like the commercial team in Russia might be what might have happened might be one of these two scenarios and they might have minded the silver in like opening up the lead in like Russia uh, might have in like kind of the person of the level playing Russia might have been what might have happened with the Canadian inspiration and that way like states want to ending up becoming like under like the captivity of like the Russian forces and yeah, that was like they might have been pleased because like them who might out of think given up on a weapon like 11 lakh and the spring like that point might have been such an unexpected surprise maybe for them who even that point maybe might have had like absolutely no actual idea of like the all the sorts of like powerful monsters that exist within like the bad world uh, and like that way once like they got like the fifth through the infiltration of like the fifth humanoid monster in like the energy level thing right here like that way like the Russian force members might have been placed to those like in an unexpected manner might have been found that they might have gotten like a powerful weapon proof that these like cases humanoid monsters with limited damage and this might be the reason for like them the particulars like ensuring to like feed taking care of like this like space humanoid monster and like to feed it and everything might be like the case certainly not the same. But when the member looking like currently that in the purchase of strengthens that the force members the Russian forces like plan might be to like only have this like space monster of like somehow be able to like multiply and basically for them to like basically create like maybe self create like an army of like paper humanoid monsters and basically then for like them to like once again somehow attempt to like basically create but that attempt to like attempt to like create like another gate somehow at like some other location in like the world or like maybe at like Falcon itself might be along the lines of the Superman like the Rajavos might be at present might be planning and basically for them to like launch and launch that up with war and like to try to like put that up with them, for them to like attempt to like invade another country might be what like the Russian goes like present through these like cases monster humanoid monster weapons so that they might be totally the Rajavos might be totally hoping that through their scientists like they will be getting like these weapons to like these like similar monsters to be able to like take orders and listen to the question process. Might be along the lines like they might be at present might be in like the process of like the scientists they are like doing all these like experiments and everything might be like supplement together. So the other possibility that is occurring is for like since with like current craft research humanoid monster in like the Russian base in like Russia. Like let's see this thing is like different and it's like green color like I'm maybe this space with humanoid monster might be a whole lot maybe faster as well as like tougher and stronger than like the dark space with humanoid monster uh, from like the from popping from like the symbol might be like that beautiful to reach the element frame. So like the space with humanoid monster that exists in like the location of like Russia in like the parallel world might be of like a totally uh different type, different kind and basically would be a whole lot stronger than like the basic humanoid dark faces humanoid monster of like the past might be like also like the case like a possibility that I'm